let's dive into some of the technical details of this ASIAIR Plus compared to the ASIAIR Pro or the original ASI. So these are just based on what I know. There could be probably a lot more improvements from the software point of view, and I will know more about those when I hook it up to the software and test it out. But from the hardware point of view, let's talk about some of the advantages. So from technical point of view, one of the things that is different about this compared to the ASIAIR Pro, I believe, is internally it uses the compute module from Raspberry Pi and not the original or the default Raspberry Pi board that most people get. So I guess this is our Raspberry Pi 4 compute module. And usually the compute modules come with eMMC memory as opposed to using the external SD card for storing the OS. So this means your reads and writes are going to be much faster than normally you would get from an SD card. And the USB-C port here is definitely a big plus because you could just transfer data from the device into your PC much faster than going over say a USB 2 port, or even like taking the SD card out and transferring images. You really don't need the SD card. The OS is on the eMMC, but there is the SD card in case you want to use that as additional storage. So that could be a definite plus, because you could just pull the card out, use it, and if the card goes bad, you just toss it and put another card in, and the eMMC should still have your OS. In addition, I'm told that the reset button should reboot the OS right away. So that's something I need to test. And also the indicators here are great. If you're coming from the original ASI, then there is a lot of benefits here. One, you are getting a better hardware platform compared to the Raspberry Pi 3, which is what is there in the original ASI. So this is Raspberry Pi 4, and some of the reviews out there claim the Raspberry 4 can give you almost desktop-like performance on a small single board computer form factor. In addition to that, you have the gigabit Ethernet, and also the two USB 3 ports. The original ASIAIR had 4 USB 2.0 ports. And also the LED indicators for Wi-Fi power system, all that is an advantage over the original one. The original one, I believe, had only one LED to indicate power and also activity. So the switch is also a definite plus. And one of the things I didn't like about the original ASI was the USB-C connector for power, which was very flimsy, and I would lose connection, the device would just shut down, and I would have to go back out in the cold to figure out what is going on, and then you would invariably see the connectors come loose, and over multiple uses the USB micro port that was powering up would not last. So I actually probably voided my warranty, but I opened up my original ASI and directly wired the power input to my supply so that I don't have to use the micro connector on it. So after that, it's been super stable with respect to power and not coming loose. Also, the DSLR port is addition. The original ASI did not have that. You also get the advantages of the eMMC like you get with the Pro, and faster transfers and everything. And I believe the original ASIAIR Pro or ASIAIR does not have the plan mode and some of the additional features that you get in the software only if you connect a Pro or a Plus now. So I think those are definite advantages. And obviously the plastic case versus the metal case, and also the solid mounting option that you have, because I had velcroed that to my mount, and it worked, but I didn't like that option, and it seemed a little flimsy, and something like this is a lot better than just having a velcro holding the box there, and especially if cables move around and get yanked, the box could come loose. The other thing that this has over the original ASI is obviously these 4 power outputs. So in my existing ASI, original ASI setup, I have the ASI, and then I also have an additional Pegasus power distribution board, which has 4 outputs, and I think one of the outputs can be configured for like powering up a DSLR, and it can be configured to different power output levels on the Pegasus. I'm not sure you can do that here, but I believe if on this, if you connect them to dew shield or dew strap, and if they needed like a PWM output, you could configure these outputs as PWM, so that you're not having the dew strap on all night and sucking at your battery, and it just actually PWMs, which is going to be a lot more efficient on the battery, and also controls temperature much better than just having it on all the time. So that is also a definite advantage for this. Otherwise, I believe the other advantage I see over the ASIAIR is the TF card, which was always flaky, and I had backed up my TF card like 3 times over, so that in case the card fails, I always have a backup. But you know, it never happened. But I did have issues where, you know, some of the images would not get written to the card properly, and I would get corrupt data and things. And I actually started using an external USB drive to copy my images and not have write cycles going on the TF card, which I hope had improved the life of that card. So that's another advantage here, because you have the MMC. All that should not be, and actually you could use AMC to store images on this one too, but if you don't, you can always use the TF card here to expand memory, or you could just plug in a USB stick in one of these ports and you could do that too. And if you choose to leave the files in your car eMMC, then you could just plug it in to a PC with this USB-C cable, and you should get blazing fast downloads. So definitely an improvement. Otherwise, from points of improvement, I could say that, you know, if one of these ports could be a configurable output. So if I, for example, wanted to use this output to power my DSLR, which needs like 8.7 volts or something like that, then that would be good, especially given that they have a DSLR trigger output. If one of these ports could do that, that'd be great. Maybe it does. I have to check the software. The external antenna is definitely a plus. I believe this is going to give you some gain as opposed to a PCB printed antenna, and you know, the gain also means that to some extent this is going to be directional, and that can be a good thing, because then you could, you know, point the antenna in the right direction to get best signal. So whether you're going to get better signal than the ASI original or not is a question, but I believe you should definitely get better than the ASIAIR Pro, because on the Pro they just had some vents here for the RF signal to come out, but then most of the body was all metal and enclosed, so obviously the signal had trouble getting out, and so, you know, you couldn't venture out too far. Most people I know who were using it had another external mini router or pocket router or something of that sort, and used that for connection. So definitely reduces the number of boxes and components to your setup, so that's an advantage. Yeah, otherwise it's a solid build, very nicely machined body, and I am actually a big fan of ASI. I have the filter wheel. I have this is the original ASI that I have, and I also have the the 1600 mm, and I also have the 294 OSC camera, and in addition to that I also have the focuser. So, you know, I'm pretty sold on the ZWO ecosystem. I believe the software is really good. There are some things that they could improve on the software, obviously. Hopefully these changes come in with future software upgrades. Like, you know, the other software I use, if I'm not using the ASIAIR Pro software, is Nina, and I'm super happy with Nina, and I wish there were some improvements they could take from the Nina and port it over to ASI software. I also cannot use the ASI software with my Celestron CGM mount to do the polar alignment automatically. I have to manually move the scope because for whatever reason the software doesn't control my mount when it wants to turn it by 60 degrees. So I don't know what's going on with that, but there's a workaround, and it's not a big deal. I can get it to work. So it's another great product from the ASI family of products that you can buy, ZWO family of products that you can buy. So if you have any questions, do let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer those questions.